Here's example 4 with finding the phase shift. So our function is y equals negative pi sine of negative 2 pi x plus 7 and then minus 4. Okay. So again, the general form is like something like this: a sine omega x minus phi plus b. So we want to identify what's omega, what's phi, because we're looking for the phase shift. So remember, a and b completely irrelevant for the phase shift. Also, the fact that we have sine and not cosine, also completely irrelevant. As long as we have one of them, right? We just approach like we've been doing for the first 3 examples. So again, a and b completely irrelevant. We don't even have to pay attention to them. But now, just like in example 3, what's different here is this is a plus sign in between, right? So this is a omega x minus phi, but we don't have a minus sign there. Okay, so we want to rewrite it so that we have a minus sign in between. So how do we do that? Well, remember, a positive is just like subtracting a negative, right? So minus negative makes a positive. So what we have to do then is say this equals negative pi. Okay, so even though those are totally relevant, we still have to keep writing them so that this equality is true. Okay, so don't drop them or anything, but just write them down and forget about them. So anyway, this is negative 2 pi x and then minus negative 7. And then minus 4. Minus 4 is relevant though, but still have to write it. So anyway, now that's good because now we have it in this form: omega x minus phi, blah blah blah, x minus stuff, okay? Blah blah blah. So stuff times x and then minus other stuff. Okay, so the point is we want to have a minus sign in between them there like that. And now we do. Okay? So now we can identify what's omega, what's phi. So this is omega x minus phi. Okay, so omega, it's a goofy looking omega. So omega is what? It's the thing being multiplied by the x, which in this case is negative 2 pi. Okay? And then what's phi? Okay, here's our omega, it's negative 2 pi. X is just x, minus is a minus sign, and then what's left over, phi, is negative 7. Okay, so phi equals negative 7. Okay, so again, be very careful when you have the plus 7 here. It's probably kind of tempting to say phi is 7, but it's not quite correct. So remember, you got to have the minus sign in between. Okay, so that's why we did this step here, where we split this up and said plus 7, that's minus negative 7. Okay, so we split it up like that. Okay, so now what's the phase shift? So phase shift is the same as it's been. Phase shift equals phi over omega, no absolute values. Okay, be very, very careful about that. No absolute values here for the way that we're talking about it. Okay, so phase shift equals phi over omega, which is negative 7 over negative 2 pi. Okay, very goofy number, but we can simplify it. Negatives cancel, so then we end up with phase shift, there's that unnecessary abbreviation again, equals 7 over 2 pi. Okay, so again, incredibly strange number, but it is what it is. Just phi over omega, and phi is negative 7, omega is negative 2 pi, the negatives cancel, and we just end up with this. Okay? So again, another example where we have a plus sign in the middle, but we want to split it up and write it as minus negative so that we can actually get this minus sign in between them. Okay, so be very careful about that. And that's example 4 with finding the phase shift, and again, the answer is 7 over 2 pi.